Hello, San Antonio. Welcome to Industry Pop-S.A, your weekly podcast featuring myself, Sichuan Papí, and
Kristina Zhao.
Chef Kristina Zhao, the amazing Chef Kristina Zhao.
Yeah.
I always start the show off by asking, Chef, how was your week?
This week is a little exhausting, but it's a good thing. The busy time is finally here, and I know that means a lot for all of us in the industry.
Absolutely. So the busy time being the holiday season, and what better time of year than that in San Antonio? A lot going on. If you're in the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, any part of the hospitality industry, it's starting to heat up. And we're feeling that here at our restaurants, Dashi and Sichuan House, already some big parties, some big bookings, caterings going on. Uh, People are calling off and trying to get off Christmas Day. Hold on, we got two Chinese restaurants. So that's like our Super Bowl. We can't have we can't have staff calling off Christmas Day. It's just part of our business.
It's literally our busiest day of the entire year. So thank you so much for your support.
Yes, thank you all of those people who go out and are foodies and dine with us on Christmas Day. We can't wait to have you. And thank you to all the staff that make the sacrifice to make thousands of dollars in tips Christmas Day. It's a real sacrifice, you know what I'm saying? Uh, but we're gearing up for that. And so to bring in the new year, okay, I think we were going to start by just asking what are people doing out there to bring in. We'll close out 2024, bring in 2025. What do we have? Let's start with us.
Well, we're planning a 10-year anniversary celebration because that's when House turns 10 this year.
10 years. Sichuan House. Wow. Sichuan House is the OG for sure. If you haven't been, where's Bach and 410? Well, can you just give us a quick synopsis of how Sichuan House started and how, like, it's been 10 years already? My
Oh, I can't
gosh.
even think about it. I feel like all of my youth is gone. But Szechuan House started as a project for my father, and I came in maybe a couple months later and decided to help to do the marketing piece of it, get it off the ground. But I had never been in hospitality ever before, so it was a lot of learning. Took a deep dive into it and really started to learn the business from the ground up. And I thought I was only going to be in it for a few months to get it off the ground, and 10 years later and a second restaurant in the books, still here.
10 years.
And we really focused on telling the story of Sichuan cuisine and Chinese food. A lot of the restaurants around us, there was like seven Chinese restaurants around us, and they were constantly just, this guy has 7.99 lunch specials, the next guy has 6.99 lunch specials, and I just didn't want it to be a race to the bottom. And so it was my mission to tell people about Chinese food and how it's enjoyed family style, and what food means to our culture, our people. And I think that story has really um, resonated with people here, and it's really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so much so that you've got a second concept that's now going on 4 years, which is dashi. And you're exactly right. Chinese food has a huge place in American culture. And if you look at the holidays, if you've ever watched TNT, the station, they play the Christmas story 24/7 on Christmas Day. And like one of the most famous scenes is when the dogs go in to the kitchen, they eat the wife's turkey, ruin Christmas, right? The kids are crying, she's crying, it's a disaster. But then the dad's like, get in the car. And so then he rounds them all up. And where does he take them? On Christmas Day, the only place that was open was
Chinese
a
restaurant.
Chinese restaurant. Yeah, Chinese restaurant. And of course, they have the fa ra 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 ra.
I watched that movie from beginning to end.
And then, of course, instead of a turkey or something, they had a
Duck.
duck. And it was like, he just like chops the head off. And the wife's like, whoa,
How would you like?
whoa. Watch it. That's a quote. That's a quote. She really said that. So we're really excited for the holidays. What are y'all doing? Comment below. If your restaurant's doing something great, comment below or come on our next podcast and let people know what's going on. We'd love to have you. So, what is the city doing? Now, I saw this headline and it was about Krampus. And I'm like, what's Krampus? It sounds like a weird mix between like Santa and like I I don't know. Is he having a Charlie horse? He's like cramping up on the like he's running 100 meters. He cramps up like the last and he's like hobbling over the finish line. No, I don't think that's it. Actually, so I wanted to take a look at this because San Antonio had the first ever Krampus Fest. I don't know if that was in San
I
Antonio
think
or
it
like
was. I read
in the US. Yeah, so Krampus, for those who don't know, and I got this headline from SA Current. Bad children beware. Krampus is coming. San Antonio's first ever Krampus parade will terrorize the King William neighborhood on the evening of Thursday, December 5th. If, hipsters don't do that already on the St. Mary's, excuse me, the South Alamo Strip. Uh, so the organized on behalf of Herman Sons Hall. The event is modeled after European gatherings that pay homage to a folkloric demon who punishes naughty kids at Christmas time. I see.
Yeah.
Parade participants will dress as Krampus, who's a demon who arrives on Krampunschnacht, or December 5th, the eve of the feast of St. Nicholas. Man, that's a lot. There's a lot going on the 5th. Of course, that is past already last week.
Controversy about that, right?
A lot of controversy, and if you've ever watched Industry Pop, we kind of dive into the controversy of these things. It's just like it's so
People are so opinionated about
yeah.
everything.
Oh my gosh. So basically, throughout all of news media, it was like they're focusing on the people who were protesting the Krampus, the
Of
devil,
course.
yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. When you look at the pictures, everyone's dressed up like a demon or some type of satanic entity that is also wearing Christmas garb. So it's like a weird intermingling of like, well, you have demonism and Satanism, and then you have the birth of Jesus, right? So you have Christianity woven into a paganistic ritual of a tree and and then a mythic figure like Santa, who's based off of an actual Saint Nicholas. So there's a lot going on there. It's a lot to unpack, but nonetheless, the parade went on. There was protesters, and everyone was able to move on and live together. I think that's actually a win for our city.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Krampus. So next year, I think there was like 1,000 people they said that showed up.
Yeah.
So probably happen next year, and we'll
Are you
see.
going?
I don't know. I mean, I try to stay away from the dark entities. I had a close encounter recently, and I do not want to have another.
In our attic?
Yeah, Dashi attic is well, there's something up there, okay? And believe me, I'm up there like 3 times a week fixing our HVAC unit. Other restaurateurs, you know what I'm talking about. Leaks. Well, I need a knock on wood here because I don't want to have to go back up there. But something happened, right? And it was a little scary. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little scary. So I try to stay away from the demons and such. I
Especially at night, right?
especially at night, I'll just stick with, Santa and
Tooth Fairy,
Tooth Fairy,
Easter Bunny.
Easter Bunny, elves. Now, elves actually, if you've ever been to Iceland, elves are kind of like little demons. They're mischievous little creatures that kind of just show up out of nowhere.
Oh,
Yeah, or if you're on a DMT trip, they're what you see the little elves running around. It's crazy. But back to what people are doing during the holidays. We've got, well, that's what we're doing. So we are doing Sichuan House's 10-year anniversary. It's going to be on the Monday following Christmas. It's going to be at Sichuan House. Uh,
you're
come,
invited.
you're invited. Everyone's invited. You'll be seeing it online once I can get some time
to make the
to
promotion.
make the promotion, right? See, that's another part of being a restaurateur is if you do your own marketing, which we do, and you run operations and you're fixing leaks, it it's and podcasts, right? It's a very jam-packed agenda. So, but you will be seeing it's coming soon. Hope to see you there. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
All right. All right. Now, some other news, some other big news. So, when I travel, I and you land in the airport, I think one of the coolest things is seeing new airports. Have you like
Yeah,
ever taken interest in other airports?
absolutely. I mean, we saw some really incredible airports during our travels the last couple months.
Yeah, yeah. The Beijing
Dashing Airport.
the Beijing Dashing Airport, which is like an hour and a half outside of Beijing,
Hmm.
but it looks like a Mars colony. Like it looks like this almost like it's like alive, you know. I think they modeled it after a burning phoenix and it's huge. You walk into the interior, it's almost like it has like skin that's breathing. The colors are changing. It's really crazy. Uh
Dubai,
13
the Dubai airport was pretty cool too.
Dubai airport was very cool. We landed at like 4 in the morning. And so we land, there's like no one. You walk out and we're like, we're going, we make it through customs, and then we're going to baggage claim. And it's just like these massive marble and gold pillars everywhere. So you're walking like
The giant
through,
waterfall, was that
yeah,
in Dubai?
that was in Dubai. Massive waterfall. And then so the religious chanting was going on as well over the loudspeakers, and so it was like very surreal. It's like we just walked into well another another culture, another completely different Middle Eastern state. So it's very cool. Now bringing it back to San Antonio. So San Antonio, if anyone knows San Antonio Airport, you know that you're going to have to go through a couple of red lights for whatever reason. The the speed limit is 14 miles an hour for some reason. I've never understood that when you're going to like you have that you're merging either to go into arrivals or to get over to departures. If you look, you'll see it's 14 miles an hour. I don't know why.
14, not 15.
Not 15,
14.
14. Just so you're paying attention, right? That's see that's called social conditioning,
Oh,
right? It's a psychological tool to get you to pay attention because it's not what you would usually see, which is increments of 5 or
mm-hmm.
10. So but you know that. And then San Antonio Airport, for an international airport, it's actually really humble in its size to be kind, and it's very small. Now they did have what looks like a renovation in one of the wings, and I wasn't very impressed. And I've expressed that, and I actually know someone's dad who was one of the contractors, and they were like, "Well, what's wrong with it? It's fine." And I go, "Yeah, it's fine," and that's the problem. And because San Antonio isn't just a fine city, San Antonio is an amazing city. And so our airport should reflect as such as people from all over the world are landing and coming to our city. That's my perspective. And it is also the city's perspective now as well, because we are building another wing onto the airport. And it's really going to launch the city into, no pun intended, it's going to the city will take flight uh,
Ah,
sorry, into just taking us closer to being a tier one city. I think that's investing in the infrastructure like that is the first step to get people here, opening up those ports to international travel. And so of course when we do that, when
we
we
need airport amenities, which is food.
absolutely, absolutely you need food. And so there there's big updates, and I saw this from Chef Jason Dady's Instagram. And if you're on a Chef Jason Dady, he's huge personality, love him, amazing restaurants, and he posted this awesome picture of some amazing San Antonio restaurateurs who will be in the
The
new
new
wing.
wing. And congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to them. To give you a quick synopsis, so we have Chef Johnny from La Gloria. We have Chef Jason Dady, Esau Ramos from 2M, Nicola from Fried Chicken, Allison and Jeff Balfour from Southerly, Elizabeth Johnson from Farm Table. And so what's really cool about this is that we have local operators that are going to be in this new wing. So
They
it's like
really showcase the flavors and the culture of San Antonio.
absolutely, absolutely. So and a lot of times you'll go to an airport and you'll see like the same chains over
Mm,
and over
yeah.
again, but not in San Antonio. We're gonna have our own chefs, homegrown, here in town at the airport, showcasing to people from all over the world. So that's super exciting.
Makes me want to go to the airport just to go eat at the restaurants.
Yeah, yeah. So, but that's what airports should be. That's how cities should showcase themselves. Cities should showcase
Oh my
themselves.
gosh, say that 10 times.
That's how cities should showcase themselves. So we're super excited about that. Uh, you know, just big things for San Antonio to come. Now, moving into some more big news. This has not exactly to do with restaurants, but it does have to do with the hotel industry. Now, for those of you who know, the San Antonio Hotel and Lodging Association is essentially like the focal voice for hotel and lodging here in San Antonio. They do a lot of great lobbying work. They do a lot of great, funding for different programs, for education, for events, opportunities, and they really showcase the people in the hotel industry in a great way. And one of the ways they do that is through their annual Pineapple Awards. Okay, so the pineapple is a symbol of hospitality. And other things, right? We won't get into that, but yeah, I think if you know, you
I
know.
know what it's. I want to know the other thing.
The only way I can
It's an
answer
all-night
this is
conversation.
an All-American Reject song. Swing, swing from the cables of my heart. Swing, swing. Up.
Okay,
You turn the pineapple this way and it means something else,
I
okay?
see.
Yeah,
Okay. We'll talk about it later, I guess.
I should not have said that I know what that means. But but it means hospitality and so the Pineapple Awards essentially in November every year they they highlight and give out awards to the best in San Antonio hotel industry, ranging from management, ranging from front of house, back of house, marketing, sales, comprehensively they give out awards and it's a great time. It's great to see housekeepers and people on the maintenance side, people who kind of are behind the scenes, really get some
Recognition.
recognition, right? And you know when you think about like how hard housekeeping is, I was a hotel GM for a number of years and I've been in the industry, that industry, for a while, but housekeepers are like
Yeah, that one time during COVID when you had none.
yeah, like that. So you get to really appreciate housekeepers when you don't have them, and then you're having to make beds and you're having to clean after other people, and so
Well, that's like the backbone of hotels, right? Your housekeepers, because that's your product. Your product is your room.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if you're a hotel GM, the first rule is keep your housekeepers happy. Okay. Second rule is keep your guests happy. Third rule is keep your housekeepers happy.
Okay.
And I'm a member of the events committee for Sala, and they do great work. And if anyone is wanting to really promote their business, whether it's restaurants or any of those industries in orbit of hotels, third-party services, it's great. There's a lot of events throughout the year. But I wanted to get into like how the hotel industry really affects like the restaurant industry and like everyone in the city comprehensively is affected by the hotel industry and it's through hotel occupancy taxes. And this came on my radar recently because of this thing that no one knew about, but everyone knew about, how the Spurs were like sending subliminal messages with the Hemisphere Tower changing the logo on uh, their court, that this new thing called Project Marvel.
Oh,
Project Marvel is well, it's a thing. If you haven't heard about it, it is a new, well, it is a plan. It's a master plan for a district next to downtown, right next to Hemisphere, right where you've got the Institute of Texan Cultures for a new Spurs Stadium and entertainment district. Entertainment, right? And so I was just thinking about, well, how are we, and the estimated costs are anywhere from 3 to 6 billion dollars for this project. So how is the city, and mind you, well, one, how are we going to fund it? And mind you, in 2002 we funded a stadium, and then in the 90s we funded a stadium, right,
yeah.
called the Alamo
Where's all
Dome.
this money coming from?
Yeah, where's all this money coming from? And what are we doing with these stadiums after the Spurs move? Because they started at Hemisphere Arena, then they went to the Dome, the Alamo Dome, then they went to what was SBC Center, today the Frost Bank Center, and now they have plans to go somewhere else,
To go back to Hemisphere.
to go back to Hemisphere. So full circle in the past 30 years. Please don't say 40, because that would mean I'm getting close to 40. Let's say
No
30
comment.
years. 30 years. And so when you look at in 2002, that it was, I think, almost $180 million for that stadium, for the SBC Center, and most of it was a mix of private and public funds. Most of the private funds came from, well, the private entities, but it was a very small percentage as compared to the public funds. Well, the public funds were primarily coming from hotel occupancy taxes levied by the city.
Mhm.
Now, the state of Texas levies a percentage tax, and then they allow the cities and then the county to negotiate a tax rate not to exceed 16.75%.
Oh, I didn't know that. I always learn so much with you on these podcasts.
Well, I do try to do my research before I get on these, so like have got the numbers, off the top of my head. But this is the way that you generate revenue if you're a city or a state, is through hotel occupancy, through tourism. And hotels are the ones that levy it for the state, the city, and the county. Now, so where does this money go? And so I've got a list of different things that we utilize. The city of San Antonio utilizes this money for, and it's not just like in one year. It's like over, multiple years. But they've have and plan on allocating dollars to these projects. So now, hold on. Have y'all seen Jurassic Park when the Samuel L. Jackson character is like trying to turn the power back on, and he's got the cigarette and he's like, "Hold on to your butts." And anyway, hold on to your butts when you hear these numbers, because it is astronomical. And then you're going to understand why hotels, housekeepers, technicians at hotels, front desk agents, all of them are so important to our city and what we do. So $125 million for the San Antonio River improvements, $80 million to amateur sports facilities. Amateur sports facilities. So what does that mean? Like,
What
the
does that
Spurs
mean?
are pro, but is that college? Is that the missions?
Oh,
How many amateur sports? I mean, is that high school? I don't know. I'd like to look into that, but that caught my eye. $100 million to community arenas and grounds. Okay. 110 million to cultural arts and the Tobin Center. These are huge sums of money that are being generated by the city from
tourism.
tourism. So, I can't help but say that this is kind of a crazy model, where bring really we entice people to come here, so we raise taxes from them, right?
Well, it's the biggest industry for San Antonio, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is, but it's a crazy model. So they also they also, so these funds as well, they fund the arm of the marketing arm of San Antonio, which is Visit San Antonio. And then other cities as well will utilize these strategies to fund their marketing side. So to draw people here, right, to raise, of course, to promote the city and promote business, but also the bread and butter there are tax revenues that are generated via the hotels. Now, what does that do to hotels? Their rates go up. So people complain about, hey, online, like on Priceline, the rate was 49.99, and then by the time they check out,
It's 85.
it's 85 to 100, and then the front desk agent is like, well, and then they have to deal with, of course, an a guest that isn't maybe so happy versus if those taxes weren't there. So Visit San Antonio is super important. And if you're not involved, I think you should be, because they speak for the city. And if they're speaking for the city, that means in some way they speak for you. So if you're a restaurateur or a prospective business owner in any type of industry, I would say get involved, because it does have an effect on us collectively and our industries. So, but I will say that that so the city is also levying via hotels what they call TPID, which is the Tourism Public Improvement District. So it's a program. It's at a 1.25% assessment fee. So it's not a tax.
So that's on top of the 16.75.
Yes. So I'm gonna start. I need a drink. Okay.
We we can't afford to stay in hotels anymore.
So it's a 1.25% fee. See how that works? Assessed on occupied room nights at participating hotels within the city limits. And so it applies to hotels with 100 or more rooms located within San Antonio. It's a 1.25% fee on each taxable room night, which is passed through to the guests. Again, the funds generated from TPID assessment are utilized to market and promote San Antonio as a premier convention and tourism destination, aiming to increase hotel occupancy and tourism related activities. So, uh, so yeah, and then there's, you know, this is then reported to the city, and it's called the reporting and payment process aligns with the procedures for the hotel occupancy tax, which we talked
Hot.
about, the hot tax. Oh, it's hot. It's super hot. Your pocketbook is burning up. Okay. That's how hot it is. Anyway, so how do we spend that money? Like, let's say we're looking at in context of Visit San Antonio. Well, Visit San Antonio spends that money to get the James Beard Foundation here through events, because that's not inexpensive, right? Yes, the James Beard Foundation in many ways, well, it's a nonprofit and it acts very charitably, but it also has financial interests in a business model and way it generates revenue. So we pay for the James Beard Foundation to be here.
And the Michelin Guide.
And the Michelin Guide, which, if you've seen other podcasts we've gone into, San Antonio over 3 years is paying $270,000, equivalent to the amount that other cities are paying. So Texas collectively, through tourism that funds Visit San Antonio and the marketing arms, is bringing in these, the James Beard Foundation and the Michelin Guide,
Which
which,
I think ultimately is good for tourism, because when people come to the city, that they're looking for what's highly rated, or what are these standards um, that are
yeah,
upheld.
yeah, I mean, and so this goes back to building infrastructure. If you're looking at like what we're doing with the airport, building infrastructure for people to come here, and then as well building infrastructure with highly rated restaurants for international travelers. I think those are the people who are going to be like, hey, let's go to that Michelin star, that Michelin Guide, the Bib Gourmand restaurants. And so I think that's a great way to generate, you know, business and people coming here, because a city without a Michelin Guide, it's like, well, people don't really know all of the things that go on behind that. They just know that it doesn't have one, if they're looking for one. So I would just like to thank the hotel and lodging industry, and all of the hard workers, uh, from the perspective of a restaurateur because they're giving us opportunities via the marketing arm, right? That then gets them here to then give us praise and give us accolades, which that money is coming from the hotels. And so I think the Pineapple Awards are super important, and we should always remember collectively as a hospitality community in San
It's a
Antonio.
it's a link in the chain of hospitality. No,
Yeah.
it's the hotels are a hospital for people who need a place to sleep.
Okay, say that again. Say that again. You've always said this. Say that again.
So, the 13th century definition of hospitality, the root of it comes from the word hospital. And the word hospital just means a place for the needy. So, a hotel is a hospital for people who need a bed at night, and a restaurant is a hospital for people who need food.
Yeah.
And so they're just different entities, they're different hospitals. And that's where hospitality comes from.
Yeah.
I've always wondered about that. Why do they call it hospitality? Because the root word is hospital.
Yeah.
It's a place for the needy,
A place for the
and we
needy.
take care of them.
We do. We do. And that's what makes it's part of what makes San Antonio really great.
That we're great servants.
Yes, service is paramount. And I think that um, whether it's, your business or whether it's, serving your family, serving your community, serving, and your church or your nonprofits, whatever you're involved in, service is a great way. Time is the most valuable asset that we have. And, showing good spirit and kindness with your time, I can't think of any better investment than doing that.
I guess that's what you're doing over the holidays is giving service.
I'll be servicing all of San Antonio.
Oh, really?
Have y'all seen the upside down pineapple anywhere? Joking, kidding, kidding. Uh, so yeah, I wanted to jump into that, and so we'll see. Now back to Project Marvel. And by the way, who the heck named this project? Like, okay, project are we supposed to marvel over this project at the end of it? Are we going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm marveling over this?
Maybe.
But couldn't they have called it something like cooler? I don't know. I'm not criticizing. I'm just wondering where the name came from because the project came out of nowhere. Who named this thing? And where was the committee on naming? I want to see those votes.
Would you have
Okay.
named it Project Avengers?
Project Avengers. I mean, that sounds a little better.
Isn't that in the Marvel series too?
That's in the Marvel series. Now, the DC, now if they called it Project DC, right? That's the other comic universe next to Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, then we would have known that we have a bunch of comic reading. Uh, see, that's another thing. So, like, what are our politicians doing? Who are these people in the city watching, like, naming our huge, like, billion-dollar projects after comic books? Like, come on.
Yeah, but there are some really cool superheroes. And
Project
everybody just needs a superhero in their life.
Project Wolverine, Project Jubilee. See, I'm stuck that's X-Men.
Mm-mm.
Well, who's not an X-Men?
Superman,
Project Superman, Project
Iron Man,
Iron Man, Project
Captain America.
Storm, Storm.
That's an X-Men.
She's in the Marvel side. Project, give me a female one. Project Catwoman.
What about, oh, yeah, Catwoman.
Project Penguin. What if we named it after a villain?
Oh,
Right?
maybe.
Project Krampus.
Poison Ivy. She's also an X-Men.
Project Poison Ivy. Tonight at 10.
You're fired from the naming committee, sir.
Well, I do have to apologize then because I could not do any better. All right. I don't know. But anyway, Project Marvel's out there. And my question still is, and what remains to be seen is what type of funding from public and private allocation will there be? And so that remains to be seen. Project Marvel, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, moving on. Moving on. I did want to talk about a really good article that came out of my essay. by Kat Stinson. Kat Stinson, great writer.
She's not with them anymore.
She's not with them anymore. Sorry, Kat, but she's probably doing great things. Kat Stinson is awesome. She's on the beat all the time. What doesn't matter which publication, I'm sure she's still out on the beat. Now, she wrote an article about navigating 2025, and she was talking to a number of restaurateurs about tips and strategies going into 2025. And I think that's super important. Over the past couple episodes, we've talked about future forecasting and planning for the future, which, if we're not doing that and we're looking into the past, you're going to be left behind. And so it's really good to hear from other restaurateurs and what's on their mind, what's on their radar for, I'm not going to say the word this podcast because I'm tired of it, but it starts with an S and ends with sustainability. Okay, I didn't say it. Starts with an S, ends with sustainability. Uh, but a great article. She goes on to say that more than 50 restaurants, bar, and coffee shops have closed in San Antonio 2024.
Absolute bloodbath.
It's an absolute bloodbath, and one of the restaurateurs did say that, not as a real literal bloodbath, because that will get you, well, no, if you say it in a figurative way, it'll get you on the news. So, but this is a podcast, so bloodbath, bloodbath, bloodbath.
Oh,
I know, sorry. um but yes, so 50 restaurants have closed in 2024, but she goes into what chefs, restaurateurs, and their take on longevity. See, I like that word, longevity, through 2025. I know what that word means, right? Versus some other subjective words.
mm.
And interestingly enough, I didn't realize this, but I was the first one she quoted. Okay.
Oh, that's why you like the article.
No, I like the article because of what everyone else said. I was like, oh, you put me at the front of it. I'm like, ah, and everyone else responses just got better and better. So
You're very articulate.
yeah. Well, let's not go into what I said. Y'all hear me yap this whole thing. But she talked to Ricky Ortiz from El Camino and Besame, a very astute businessman and promoter. I follow him. In 2025, keeping a restaurant open will take more than just great food and service. It will require a disciplined approach to cost management and understanding of the broader economic climate. Okay, absolutely. Cost management is always at the front of running a restaurant and running a business. And he goes, a food truck. Well, he had a food truck background. He's moved into brick and mortar. Uh, and he said something here that I really liked. Many didn't realize the real estate. Real estate is a true market and often overpay or take on high repair costs with negotiating terms around them. So negotiating a great lease, negotiating a lease that is set for your success into the future is super important. I mean, we know firsthand, we've gone through this process a number of times now.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, if this place is $10,000 a month over the course, and your standard lease is 5 years, over the course of 5 years, you'll have spent more than $500,000 just in rent alone. And that does not include your triple necks and property taxes and so forth. And then all of the repair and maintenance costs that go into a broken AC unit or your refrigeration or your plumbing. And so when you're at the end of 5 years, you probably have spent no less than a million into a property that's not yours.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy to think about. And
So owning the property and operating on that property is the ticket. Uh, That's the golden ticket. That is the best setup for restaurateurs. And it's not so easy, but I've been doing research. It's actually not so difficult either, with certain real estate and creative finance strategies. But interesting perspective from Ricky. From Empty Stomach Group, restaurateur Chad Carey, a wealth of knowledge, a very, I mean, successful is not even like the word to describe Chad and his concepts. He said that we as business owners need to increase revenues, mostly via increasing PPAs, which is per person averages, what the average guest spends when they come in. Customers are showing us that they are, to a degree, tapped out on menu price increases. And it's easy to understand why, but restaurant expenses have just risen so much in the last 2 years. And all of these changes are structural, meaning they're not going back down, right? So the cost of living is just going up, and so are the costs of doing business. And he goes that 2024 has been a bloodbath in the restaurant world. And he says that eventually he thinks that customers will get used to the increased prices in the same way that people reminisce on the days of yesteryear where they say, "Oh, I remember when I can get a," well, what does he say here? It's really funny. Uh, he goes, people will begrudgingly say things like, "Man, I used to love it when I could buy a cheeseburger for $5,000. Those were the good times." So there is some conditioning over time that may in fact happen. Uh, but in the meantime, we're still restaurateurs are still dealing with some sticker shock. So controlling costs goes back to what Ricky was saying as well. Controlling your costs is super important so you can add value on your menu and not lose margins, which then would lead to the failure of the business.
Yes. Just as much. So, bringing the money in, revenue is one thing, but as you said, the controlling costs is absolutely important. And even something so little. Let me tell you what happened at Sichuan House last week, and it probably happens here too. And so we have a lot of to go items, and the company that we have ordered our to go containers from, they're out of stock for that specific container model or whatever you call it. So in the middle of a busy service, of lots of takeout coming in, the lids that we have stocked don't match the bottoms that have come in. And so, we're like 10 tickets deep and there's like all this food. And now one of us has to sit there and transfer all of these items out of its current container into another container so that the lids fit on them. But guess what happens to all of those containers? That just goes into the trash.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say, oh, they're, 25 cents each or 10 cents each, and that doesn't seem like a lot. But then you multiply that by 1,000, and let's say this happens once a month. Like, it's a nightmare. And not to mention, in the moment, you're also racing against time because people are waiting for their food and
Yeah.
you're short staffed right now, and so forth. So it's like, oh my God. Anyways.
Yeah, that I was not there for that to experience that, but it happens, and if you know, you know. Um, so I want to go on into this article. So they go on and and Kat, she interviewed Diego Galicia of Michelin, and he goes, "We also need more help from the city. Why doesn't the city buy properties and rent them out to local business owners?" Pointing out that local businesses like the now shuttered Vice Versa Coffee are being charged 8,000 a month in rent. It's just not sustainable. S
You love that word.
S sustainable. Khaleesi added, lack of customers, rising utilities, skyrocketing rent prices. Before you even think of revenue, there's so many hands in the cookie jar. And
Mm,
that's a difficulty about restaurants is
oh
like,
my God.
let's say you're going to open one, the third party services are, it's like a feeding, it's like not a bloodbath, but like it's chum in the water when you're a new concept that's opening up because you don't really have any leverage and your third party services, God love them,
You
but
literally have to comb through your statements every single week, actually. Not even statements. You just have to go look through your charges. I saw a charge recently for $500 for a service that was canceled, and I spent 30 minutes on the phone with them today trying to sort that out. So I feel like I made $500 because I'm getting it back.
yeah.
But that was mine to begin with. It was taken from me and I had to go get it back. But it's like I it's so frustrating because I don't want to spend my time. It sucks that I have to spend my time doing those things versus taking care of my customers.
Right. Absolutely. And then the customers, right? And your customers, and there's no excuses really when it comes to customer service. And so, those are just things that's like metadata in the background. And if the customers don't experience that, then you've succeeded because those certain situations like that are inescapable in life,
And they're
really.
relevant to the guests
Right.
dining in. They don't see that and they shouldn't see that. I'm just venting about it since this is industry pop.
Yeah. But that is frustrating. So moving into a couple more quotes here. So fellow James Beard award nominee from Curry Boys, founder Sean Wen, he goes, keeping a restaurant open in 2025 will require restaurants to be more and to do more, whether that means consistently pumping out high quality yet price conscious food, always having sublime service, or simply creating a welcoming space with your respective community requires city and guests to provide an equal amount of effort. So he's saying the city and the guests need to then come together with those local businesses that are, providing food or what have you, right? We're talking about the restaurant industry here, to then show some love and support. And we were actually talking about this morning, because we live by some new places that have popped up or even changed concepts and themes. And I was like, man, we should go. Like, we're right here. We are very busy, yes, but everyone's busy, and we should go out and we should support. And we will. Alan?
We will, we will, because we experienced that at Dashi too. I mean, even now, we still actually even at Szechuan House, Szechuan House being on 10 years, we had a guest come in the other day and like, I've been driving by this place for years. And the same as goes by for Dashi. Hey, we live right around the corner, but this place has changed hands so many times. So we just, didn't know if we should go in or not. And it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, I mean, if you don't come in, we are going to go out of business.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, oh. But but when they come in, you've got to land it. You've got to land it. They come in, they took the chance, and you've just
Show them a good
gotta you
time.
gotta execute, and you gotta knock it out of the park. And that's where you meet everyone halfway, right? So that's part of that quote, is like you provide that great service and you reward that person for taking that chance on you, and you create a customer for life. Uh, so a lot of really great quotes. Aaron Pena is in here too. I mean, there's some heavy hitters. All right, of Bar Gimme Gimme and Moritono and the former Squeeze Box. They actually did, and she mentions that they shuttered in 2024. But he says, what I love most about our local scene is that it's ours. We have a uniquely historic and beautiful culture. No one can replicate what we do in San Antonio. Or he goes, San Anto. San Anto. Uh, and so it's a great article if you want to look into the mind of some really cool people in town. Now, I don't know why she included but um, I'll tell you, so from my perspective, I went into looking at, like, yes, it's rocky terrain, but first and foremost,
But she reached out to me about this, and we had just had our podcast about this. And so naturally, I just asked you to put out a commentary about it.
yeah. And so I think first and foremost, density is key. So if you're going to open, or if you're thinking about opening a concept,
Location,
look,
location,
yeah, they say
location.
they say that. Location, location, location. The first rule is location. The second rule is location, and the third rule. And so density, meaning that you are getting business, not you're getting volume, not created by your own marketing dollars, right? And so what you'll find is that places let's say I'll give you an example, like let's say Frost Bank Center or the Frost Bank Center. Like those kiosks or those businesses in there, they have density for that small amount of time, but they have density, right? They're in there, and the Spurs are actually bringing all the people for them for all the concessions, right? And so La Cantera, I would say, is another place that has a lot of density. So if you're like a whiskey cake, right, you've got density because people are going to shop there, or like any type of mall, even the airport. Density is created by the aspects of the environment, the ecosystem in which you are. Now, if you don't have density, then it's going to be a lot harder. So definitely consider density in terms of if you're going to open in 2025. So the last thing you want to do is open and then close because of location. Now, uh, passive foot traffic generated through marketing dollars. Most operators don't have this luxury, is what I say. Service, staffing, and quality will always be at the forefront. Beyond the basics, operators should consider, all right, they should consider in-house hybrid sales models. And I don't mean like, hybrid cars or anything like that, or going green. What I mean by hybrid is that capitalizing on your branding. And we actually have we can do better at this, but we do have like a little shop, I guess you would say,
Mhm.
but sell stickers, sell hats, right? Brand in some other way, generate revenue in a passive way. Yeah, it may be an upfront investment to get, them made, but that type of passive branding, not only are you getting cash flow now, but then other people are seeing that out in the third dimension, right? And so it's a way of marketing, passive marketing as well. And then, you know, diners will continue to look for off-premise options, so your takeout program offerings are key differentiators. And um, Sichuan House is a beast at that, and um, that I think that's something driven by the post-lockdown
That
era.
was actually a pandemic gift, if I say it that way. But prior to the pandemic, I would say we were 85, 90% dine in and only 10 to 15% takeout. Of course, the lockdowns changed that. And so I would say we're probably up 35, 40% takeout. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah, that is wild. And so I'm over at Sichuan House a lot more, and just because I've been primarily a dashi, but just seeing it's 10 o'clock, y'all. But seeing that type of takeout business is wild. So the third party services, the third party couriers are, super a big part of people's lives right now. And so people are choosing to dine at home. The in-house dining experience is, not when I say in-house, I mean at restaurant. So the at restaurant dining experience is not, people's first option because they live somewhere, right?
They have children and, they whatever reasons,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
reasons.
So, well, that was a great article. Check it out if you haven't. And a couple other things we wanted to get into. Let's see, I'm going over. Okay, so we're gonna end it on a funny note, I hope,
Mm.
right? So Christmas is coming, right? Christmas is coming.
Holidays are here.
The holidays are here.
Yeah, Hanukkah and Christmas on the same day this year. Or this Hanukkah starts on Christmas Day this year,
Santa
right?
baby, I really want a present tonight. Santa baby. Does that song is kind of like, I don't know. She's almost like seductive in that
Of
song, right?
course.
Santa baby.
I can't wait for you to come in your Christmas sleigh.
So, things not to say at Christmas.
Mm.
Okay. What are some things not to say? So, I posed this to Chat GPT. All right.
Oh,
I was like,
okay.
"Hey Chat, what are some things that you should not say at Christmas? And it gave me some. And I was like, chat, what are what are what are some, how did I phrase it? What are some more dubious things to not say at Christmas? And so it gave me another list. And I said, chat, no, really, go hardcore.
Okay.
So chat was like first level, second level, third level,
Okay.
and so that's a progression here. Okay. So the beginner level for Chat GPT of things not to say at Christmas. Okay.
Okay.
When are you going to settle down? Okay.
Okay.
I saw your ex the other day. They're doing great.
Oh god.
You walk in. I'm just here for the food. You know, not the best. This is first level, right? Why aren't you drinking? Are you pregnant? Well, I guess that's not too bad.
That's not our pregnancy announcement,
Yeah,
by the
no,
way.
that's not. Okay. All right, so now we go from beginner, then we go to pro. So, which Tinder hookup did you bring this year? That's kind of rough. And then like the person is right there next to you here. Someone said, "Wow, Botox much? Your forehead hasn't moved all evening."
You're just jealous because I don't have wrinkles, okay?
Wow, Caddy. Do you even try to discipline your kids? They're feral. Still jobless? At least you're
Jeez.
consistent. Skipping dessert? What? Are you afraid you won't find skipping dessert? What? Are you afraid you won't fit into your jeans
Do people
tomorrow?
really actually say this?
I don't think so. Hall of Fame. Can we talk about Aunt Carol's OnlyFans? Asking for a friend. I mean, it's an online chat GPT would know about
Sure.
that. I mean, they're basically scanning the whole internet. How's the lawsuit going? Or are we not supposed to talk about that? Wow, you've dated how many people this year? Setting records, huh? This cranberry sauce out of a can? Huh? Cute. I don't know how that one made it in there.
Yeah.
You know,
We're gonna have to try this again next week and
yeah, we're
pick
gonna,
some better ones.
yeah. And
These
I
are
think,
kind of lame.
yeah, they got it a little lame there. I think the OnlyFans ones was pretty fire. Uh,
And they clearly don't have Asian parents.
yeah, this is not an Asian family.
No, because you go into an Asian family like, oh, you got chubbier. Like, just,
Like grab your cheeks.
yeah, not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily, but I remember going to some Chinese Christmas parties in the past, and it's not they're not talking to me, but they're talking to my parents. They're like, "Oh, this here's your daughter. She's fatter than I remember." And I'm just like, "God."
Ouch.
Anyway,
Ouch.
but they're just direct, right? If you, that means you're healthy,
Healthy.
hmm
Oh, yes, of course.
and you have the means to eat.
Uh-huh. Of course. That's a compliment, actually. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't think about it that way.
Right. On that note.
On that note, well, that's Industry Pop SA this week. Actually, we do have a special guest. We have a special guest. Now, if you're on social media, if you're on Instagram, then you may know that, well, we have like a theme going here at the Sichuan realm that we live in, right? So we've got Sichuan Eats. Okay, that's
Sichuan House,
Sichuan House. Then we've got Sichuan Dashi.
which is Dashi.
Then we've got
Sichuan Papí.
Sichuan Papí. And we've got
Oh, Sichuan Papí.
Sichuan Puppy right here. She is a foodie influencer, best friends with Sean Elliott. You'll see her at many of the events around town. She is licking the air right now. So cute. Sichuan Puppy. I would like to say on behalf of Sichuan Puppy, I'm Sichuan Poppy. This is
Kristina Zhao.
And you've just seen Industry Pop-S-A, a weekly podcast where we talk about all things pop in the culinary world. So check us out, like,
Beyond, right?
and beyond. Yeah, we do some other things like Krampus or flying mattresses or, Stargates opening up and things like that. So check us out, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, join us every week, and we're signing off. Industry Pop, San Antonio.
Good night.